Birth and death occur in my garden each year and each season. Birth and death, creation and destruction occur in my art studio regularly. Paradoxes of all kind occur in my office with clients as I hold them in a womb of support through the challenging territory of liminality that is grief and loss, change and transition. Before we unfurl our newly formed wings, we must spend some time in the disorienting and uncertain liminal state of transformation. In stillness and breath, we feel the vibratory presence that is not the before of the past and not the after of the future, but somewhere between and betwixt. In the midst of transformation, through the presence of being in our body and imagination, we begin looking for changing, shifting, and emerging patterns. Making a choice within the fractal pattern that is uniquely ours means taking the leap into the next unfolding. Baum's unified whole and fractal patterns are a guiding force in my own creativity and in my work with clients. The Boundless mobile project began as my conception and a visual art work demonstration of the way we are simultaneously held in our interconnection to one another and also free to move uniquely in the world. At the time, I did not know all that was enfolded in this project that has become many mobiles that now live across the world. The second incarnation was a 9-piece mobile in service and honor of my friend Mark, who was dying. I've made one other of these large pieces. It aided in the transition of a woman who I met for the first time as I installed the mobile above her bed, where she would eventually take her last breath. These large mobiles are transition objects during the dying process, a ritual of motion, memory, and presence for the person dying and their loved ones. Other mobiles serve to explore a visual expression of an experience not adequately captured any other way. I make singles as gifts, including for a collective group of vision questers. These singles now live in 12 various locations around the globe, memorializing our co-conscious experiences that continue to ripple into the world. These singles took on a new pattern, taking on aspects of the visions that each person expressed in our community gatherings. Our connection to each other through these mobiles, beyond distance and time, is vital and real. It has become clear to me that the boundless mobiles and each human life are enfolded fractal patterns in and of themselves. Fractals are creatively spontaneous, deeply patterned, ordered and stable, random and spiraling, a paradox. The idea that each new point is shaped by all that has gone before has a resonance to the previous incarnations of ourselves from which we are presently but another extension. Each new mobile extends from the previous creation with a slightly new form. Both we and the mobiles are a pattern repeating in a long line of patterning that is self-similar, but with perhaps the strange attractor that reflects and nudges toward changing the whole. Dispersed, coiled wires and gems is a more tightly woven construction. The pieces entangle and move with each other instead of in the counterbalancing motion of the more separate pieces that dangle from a framework. This emerging pattern of the mobiles reflects the safe, empathic container of co-consciousness I offer clients as they move through the liminality of grief. Even the storm that rolled in after I hung the mobile in the garden seemed to be in alignment with the mobile's implications. Weathering the storm, Glistening in the sunlight, still beaded with raindrops, the entangled mobile was intact and somehow transformed. In the midst of disorienting uncertainty, of liminality, of grief, helping clients begin to notice patterns changing, shifting, and emerging provides critical support as organization emerges without orchestration. When we are suddenly pulled into the chaos of liminality, through death, divorce, and other losses, being able to stay in the present moment in awareness of the subtle patterns is enough. In the overwhelm of grief, this noticing of emerging patterns can allow a shift to gain momentum that creates a deep sense of self-compassion, where things unfold in ways we never imagined. Jackson describes that through increasing awareness of brokenness, we discover a greater sense of wholeness. When crisis or loss occur, it makes what appears to be a mess of everything. However, it is the natural process of the new order forming. As old patterns cease and no longer serve, it is our nature to take risks, to create something new, unrestricted by the old hidden order. Holding a fluid, empathic co-consciousness in the womb of support allows clients to safely explore the edge of structure. Creativity happens at the edge. Spontaneity is possible in this liminal territory where it is necessary and needed. The fluid space of support allows the vulnerable but emotionally safe exploration of this edge. It is possible with this compassionate, co-conscious support to feel into the waters of vibrational presence, where spontaneity and possibility exceed our past experiences. Particularly in a society that operates from a linear state, it can be disconcerting to experience these non-linear systems that are unpredictable. My art often spontaneously erupts, and it is only later that I began to see how it is embedded in so many other aspects of my work in the world, and how it is inspired by the work I do with others. The Boundless Mobile Project and my work with clients in the area of grief and loss are intimately attuned and entangled with one another. Similarly, this bipolarity of interactions back and forth produce patterns in daily life. This is both true of the mobile and co-conscious states within themselves and between each other. There is an order that erupts or develops out of the frenzy. I often find a stillness, a presence that vibrates enough to match the frenzy of the crisis in order to move in parallel with the frantic nature of intense emotions of grief. Instead of having a preordained notion of what will come next, this matching, or rather holding gently the space around the energetic motion of grief, allows change to evolve in an unplanned and natural way. This is the essence of when we go deeply into anything, we find its interdependence with all else. The fractals that are our lives and the extensions of our ancestry represent actuals which are very old, related to the structure of the mind, and patterns which are basic and go back to the beginning. Fractals represent what survives in the structures and processes of nature, what is perennial or timeless, like enduring wisdom. When we first engage in an emerging pattern, it can be clumsy, imperfect, and often lacks smoothness or expected consistency, anomalies, strange sets, and paradoxes. As well, fractals do not provide a predictive, but only a probable future pattern. The emerging fractal patterns that are rough around the edges and unpredictable do not tend to sit well in our modern society that insists on perfection and certainty. However, we do not need a predictive pattern to tell the future. We only need to look back and see how far we have come, to see the subtle shifts that have led us to where we now stand, and to know that we are heading in the right direction. We can remain present by following our own fractal pattern. In this state of presence, on the edge of structure, there is no room for living in the regret of the past or the anxiety of the uncertain future. Helping clients in the midst of the disorienting uncertainty of grief to begin to notice patterns changing and shifting provides critical support as the organization emerges within them without orchestration. Grief states within the womb of support is what Bohm called the implicate order, hollow movement, a plasma state where we have stopped behaving like individuals and started behaving as if we were part of a larger and interconnected whole. We are part of a sea of aliveness, enfolded and unfolding, infinitely multidimensional, in a constant state of flux and becoming.